You want the moon? Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down.
Put that coffee down.
I'm a British nanny, and I'm dangerous.
It don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
That was totally wicked!
It's the Al Travis Show, and it's Cleanup in Aisle 9. Yeah, but with Senator Susan Kent. Senator, thanks for being here. Love having you on.
It is so good to be here.
I want to discuss a little bit about the weirdness that is going on where we're at. You talked about deadlines, and deadlines are good. We live by the deadlines. Like, as far as I can tell, deadlines mean crap. The Constitution says you have to be done with your work by midnight last Monday. Well, by Thursday, Friday, we ain't going to make. Well, with Thursday, had you and I talked about that yet? We hadn't.
Yeah,
about the door knocking thing when the governor came. When the
we did. Yeah,
governor comes in the door. So now we're not going to get there, right? We know we're not going to get the first that first Monday. So then they come out. Well, next Wednesday at 5:00, we're going to have this thing done. We've got the working groups. Killer, not. Well, that comes and goes. Try to get it done by Friday so we don't have to come in on Memorial Monday. Well, that doesn't happen when we're not coming in Memorial Monday, so okay with that done. So now today as we sit here, we have now said that by 7 o'clock today, we will have these working groups done. What in God's green earth makes us think that's going to happen, Senator? No way in the world.
Okay,
None.
so there are just a couple things with this one, because I have watched this process play out in a variety of scenarios, and I want to give credit to Melissa Hortman because she's really good at breaking down the overall task and managing the pieces of it to get done. I have watched her do that repeatedly, and she's a master of it. It has nothing to do with politics. It's purely how she thinks about it and communicates that to others. So I do know, because I still follow a bunch of these people on my social media, that different committees have been closing up their agreements over the past week. So progress has been made, because these are each individual bills, right? And these are each individual conference committees or working groups. And so they are meeting and doing the work. So yay.
Can I put in, because you say this, and this is the problem with the work groups, not conference committee. Yep. We're not allowed to be in there and sit and watch. We had a senator on earlier today, said that in the education department, they got it all done. They even signed their names to the Excel spreadsheet. Not sure what all that means, but okay, they signed their name. Next day, someone got up and said, nah, I changed my mind.
Yeah.
So,
and that is the downside of using a working group instead of a conference committee, right? Because with the conference committee, it is official, and once you've signed that agreement, there's no takesies backsies.
Backsies.
That is a done deal.
No takesies backsies. Right. You heard that live on the Al Travis Show. Okay, that's what it seems like. That
is an official term of legislature.
But that just seems that's what they're acting like. It's like,
well, so here's the thing, and I've watched this with fascination because I absolutely agree in the spirit of transparency, right? That this stuff should be done out in the open. Even when I went into the Senate in 2013 was my first session, we had conference committees where the negotiations were done in public. Now, it turned out, that there would be basically sort of like waiting for budget targets kind of thing. That I remember on transportation, there was, I remember then Chair Scott Dibble, still Chair, again, Scott Dibble, talking about waiting for the white smoke to come out of a meeting, like the Pope thing, from Dayton and Thiessen and Bach on what are we going to do about transportation, So it's like, it wasn't that the conference committee wasn't operating, but there were backdoor negotiations happening on the big picture. But Speaker Emerita Hortman, my friend and former colleague partner, was absolutely right. It's like the environment in which legislators have to work right now is such that it's really hard politically because of the public to do this stuff in public, because the level of engagement of some people and the way they will retaliate is so heightened that like I've said to you many times, that's part of the reason this stuff doesn't get done until the last minute, because they don't want to disappoint these interest groups earlier than necessary.
But then you are giving those few, and I'm going to say most people aren't going out of the way to overreact to their senator or their House. Yep. You then give those that are willing to threaten to do that. I would use that strange guy who was screaming at Hudson in the microphones, like, you're over the top. You might disagree, but stop. There are some out there, but you now just gave them all the power. And here's my point. And I keep using Senator Fattah. And again, I wouldn't vote the way he does, but I appreciate what he does. He thought that Uber bill was for his people. His people wanted the Uber bill. He was going to fight for the Uber bill last year. And now we have the Fattah move. He stuck to his guns and he won. He said, they've got to come to me. I will win this. We now have the Fattah move that seems to have spread out there, that everyone understands I'm the one. What? It's a great move.
He didn't invent it.
I know, but it's the first time I was around. I got to name it something. It's the Fattah move.
It's the most public it's ever been. But anytime you have a one vote majority, that happens all the time.
Okay, but we had to name it something, and I don't think he's going to be upset with the Fattah move. It's the Fattah move. The Fattah move is now being played by half a dozen people.
Right, yeah.
Okay,
I'm just saying.
By half.
If that's what you're complaining about, it ain't new.
No, it isn't the complaining. Here's what my complaint is: this idea that we come to work groups because now something's going to happen. It's got to get done. Someone somewhere is going to give. Is it because? And again, I don't think it'd be Fattah. He's always showed he'll go to the mat. But if he were to give up, is it because he changed his mind, or did he get something for it? And I'm not meaning cash. I'm talking, hey, this will be the first bill that comes up next time. Whatever the give and take is, we do this all the time. Yeah. I want to know what it is. I think the people have a right to know what it was that changed your mind. So
a lot of times what in these situations, right, where you're talking about conference committees, right, where you have you have these complex bills, that cover a bunch of different things. And, you start by saying, okay, you go through it, you say, okay, these are the sames and similars. Either this language is exactly the same in the House and Senate side, or there are these little minor differences that really don't matter. Let's just get them off the table and call them done. We've all agreed they're going to go this way. Okay, fine. Then you start chipping away at what's left. The public way of handling that was that one side would come forward with these are the things we really want, and in exchange we're willing to accept your version of A, B, and C, right? And then they trade those offers back and forth. That is technically still what's happening, right? It's not that you're personally necessarily trading this. Now, sometimes it will get to that if it's a matter of leadership, right? It's like we come to the place in the committee where we can't come to an agreement, and whatever powers it be, or whether the governor's involved at this point, or that's just the legislative heads or whatever, that they're saying, okay, we need you to take the thing you don't want because it has to happen that way, because we're getting something else in another committee, and so therefore next session, like you're saying, you'll get whatever.
And I'm not opposed to any of that. This is how it works, but I would want to know what it is, so that when whoever moves wherever, what are we getting instead? I think the public has an absolute right to know. When it's hidden like this, and this is the next step, which you brought up shortly. Thanks for falling my trap. They say the management that says, if you're not done today by 7:00, we'll take over these negotiations and we'll do it. We already saw that didn't work too well. We could go Thursday. Governor's down there saying, we all gave a little, we all took a little, no one got all they wanted. We're very happy about this. And people are screaming and banging on the door. Right. This crowd is not going to accept that thing. I don't believe, because they've already shown they don't.
I don't know, right? I don't know the answer to this, but it may be that they're just saying, we have to show people that we're fighting hard. That we know that this is a done deal and there's nothing we can do about it. And yes, we're actually mad about it. And we have to really demonstrate that we're mad and we're going to do it. I don't know. It's like I don't know where people's heads are on this one. I'm saying that is one possible scenario. Because even if they know that because the fact is they were going to have to give up something they really, really wanted no matter what. Right. And so either way, they were going to put up some amount of stink over the fact that it had to go away. And everybody, it's like people really agree that these things matter, for a lot of good reasons. And but the elections change the circumstances. And so, changes are going to happen.
And I'm going to go to break, but I'm going to fall right back on it. I'll give you one last shot thing. It falls right back on. That's why this working groups situation is so wrong, because elections matter. you looked at it, 33, 34, 67, 67. No one was going to get all they wanted. This was going to be a compromise from day. You keep shaking your head. Radios love you when
I'm
radio.
agreeing.
But so we knew that. But now, because of the work group situation, everyone will run and hide, just like you said. Well, we voted for that, but that's because I couldn't swallow this and you weren't in on the thing and I fought really hard. Why can't I know that? Why can't the paper be sitting there saying, and again, I use Fatah, I like the guy, he stuck up for himself and he did this and he stomped his foot down, and his people say, good for him, he did what I wanted. We don't get that nuance, and it should have it.
That wasn't actually public. That just kind of came out in news reports, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, no, that's my point. We should know that
But the conference committees for the past however many years haven't been much more transparent than these working groups anyway.
Yeah, but okay. That's my point. Is they should be. We should have people sitting.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but that's not the difference.
See, that's why it's so nice to invite you into the Republican Party as you keep agreeing with me throughout the show. I want you to know there's a red carpet open for you at any. She's gonna. No, if looks could kill. Back after this with more of the Al Travis Show.
Dust from livestock buildings can be harmful to your animals and to you. Coughing animals can lead to costly vet visits and other serious health problems. Now there's an environmentally safe solution for your dust problems. It's called DustLock. DustLock can control the dust all summer long with just one application. Protect your animals and your health with DustLock. Learn more at dustlock.com.
Do you have a closet full of old videos, photos, slides, or films? Regain that space and preserve those memories for future generations. Visit archivinglifemedia.com or call 952-829-8018. See how safe and simple it is to digitize all your media. Gain peace of mind knowing that all those important memories will be saved and can be seen and shared again. Do it today. Check out archivinglifemedia.com or give them a call, 952-829-8018.
As in alligator. L also in alligator. But it's not alligator. It's the Al Travis Show.
I've got her, Senator Susan Kent, on with us discussing basically what's going on here in the state of Minnesota. I'm going to ask your opinion if you would grade as we sit here today, nothing's done. Not everything's done. The Republicans and the Democrats in this session. I am, as a Republican, telling you, I think I'm having a tough time giving a C to my Republicans. I would probably give a straight C to the Democrats, which probably isn't a shocker, but because of a lot of self-inflicted things not starting for 3 weeks, a lot of stuff. So a C would be my best for my own team. Where would you sit? And I'll explain my C here in a second. Where would you rate the two sides?
I don't know. Can I just wimp out?
Well, yeah. Let me throw why quick, because I think you'll get my why. Republicans come in, and you've got the Democrats sitting out for 3 weeks. You can lambaste them all day. You're showing up whether it was right. Quorums. No one cares. So you got a real big lead. You got at least one seat at the table. Something huge can get done. They swear no new taxes, right? And they're going to go after fraud. Well, you said a little fraud committee. Good for you. What's it done for me lately? But no new taxes. You say you're not going to do that, but then, 50% increase on pot. Who cares? And again, I'm like, I don't do pot. It ain't going to matter to me. But you kind of broke the promise. Now we all going to go after the fraud. You want the fraud unit? Got a fraud unit. Got a fraud unit sitting there. You get Senator Gustafson, come on this program, and she's the new OIG thing, Office of Independent Investigation, whatever it's called. All on board. We can't get that passed. If in Minnesota, a state with how many hundreds of millions of dollars stolen right under our feet, we can't agree that we need something done. It may not be perfect, but good God. Yeah. I'm sorry. Your best grade for me is a C, and I'm being a nice teacher.
See, and here's my point, right? Because basically you've just demonstrated why we're grading on a curve. And my thesis continues to be that the system right now is so broken that the question is, how are they doing in the face of that circumstance, right? Yeah. And I agree with you. I mean, I feel like, yes, fraud is an issue. I also think Republicans decided to make it their show horse for this session because they want that for political purposes. And I'm just going to say this. I feel like so often what I have seen from Republicans when I was in the legislature is they're far more interested in the issue for the press than they are for the actual issue and the result.
Let me interrupt you this, but here's where, and I don't disagree, this was going to be their issue. They had all the issues lined up for them, and they're piddling them away one at a time. Right. Then, at the very start of the session, when they got back, Republicans said, we're going to put a law up. They put it up. I think it was 1 or 2. If you work for us in Minnesota, you must turn in any suspected fraud. That got voted down on a party line vote with the Democrats saying, no, that's too complicated. We don't want it. This last one, the OAG thing in the Senate, was 60-7. Yeah. This was bipartisan until it got to the House, and the House Democrats said, no, thank you very much. Yeah. This is not the Republicans not wanting it. It's the Republicans not selling it good enough and getting it done. I'm upset with that.
But we talked about this a couple weeks ago. I don't know the specifics of the language of the bill and what the House Democrats' arguments against it were. I don't know if the bill's identical in the House to the Senate. There often are differences that, can make it impossible for one party or the other to vote for, right? But that's where, are Republicans willing to compromise, or are they really just going to draw a line in the sand because they can say, on campaign lit, well, we fought for fraud and the other guys absolutely did not.
Yeah, but this is what, see, that line, it's like when we set up this, what's the, when you have the mental issue, not Alzheimer's, when you're a spectrum, you're on the spectrum. Right. And we decided we're going to help these kids out. And we just make up a law. You can have it. We're going to send this much money to you. We don't even discuss whether you should have a license to do it. No, you don't need a license. My barber needs a bigger license. And now we find out there's fraud in it. We had no care when it was all Democrats in charge on setting this thing up. But we don't want to overstep our bounds with somebody who can stop fraud.
I'm saying I don't know what the details of the argument were. Okay. I do not know, and I'm not going to debate you on something I don't have.
No, well, the fact they couldn't come together on a crappy bill.
I also know that Democrats don't want fraud and waste and abuse either. There's certainly a conversation to be had about why we can't do things better. And we could have, but that's my point. If were the Republicans negotiating in good faith to get the Republicans or the House Democrats to pass it, I don't know that. I don't know that either, right? We don't know. But this goes back to my main point, which is the problem is the system is broken. And this is something you need to invite our friend Shannon Watson on to talk about, because you're right. The majority of people actually do want compromise, and they do want the people to work together to have compromise. But the most outsized and politically active individuals often don't. And we have a media system that absolutely lives and breathes off the outrage and makes a ton of money off the outrage when somebody lets them down or when somebody does something that is deemed to be evil or something. And so we need people who care about getting the stuff done and the compromise and being committed to working together in a divided legislature to get it done, to reward their legislators when they do that and say, I know this was a hard vote, but thank you for taking it because we needed to get this done.
That's a great way of ending it. Thank you. I don't disagree with you. This to me was such an obvious one, the stop fraud, and we can't figure that out. Not everyone's trying is my only point. Senator Kent, love having you on the program. See you again next week.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, no, not next week.
No, that's right. 2 weeks from now. That's right. I remember.
All the special interests are represented in St. Paul, but who speaks